Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that affects literally every single one of us: stress. We usually talk about stress like it's this huge, dark cloud hanging over our lives, right? But today, we're going to flip the script. We're going to unpack exactly what stress is, how it hijacks our bodies, and, most importantly, how you can actually take control of it to become a highly capable, truly independent person.
So let's kick things off by thinking about a moment of intense pressure. Take a second. Think back to how you felt right before your last big exam, maybe a major performance, or a high-stakes presentation at work. Your heart was probably pounding out of your chest, right? Maybe you felt a massive surge of energy. Well, as we're going to see, that feeling isn't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it might be the exact fuel you need to crush it.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be looking at the dual nature of stress, how our bodies react, techniques to manage it, the power of independent work, mastering self-awareness, and finally, motivation and self-regulation. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The dual nature of stress. We really need to completely reframe how we look at pressure, because we've all been conditioned to think that any stress is terrible for us. But the reality is way more nuanced. Stress actually has a dual nature.
So let's introduce a concept you might not hear every day: eustress. This is literally the good stress. It's a positive force that actually boosts our productivity and charges up our emotions. Think about the massive rush you get when you win a sports match or land a big promotion or even just buy something you've been saving up for. That excitement, that elation, that is eustress firing on all cylinders, giving you a positive outlook and the drive to do even better.
But of course, on the flip side, we have distress. This is the harmful reaction our bodies have to real, or honestly even imagined situations. Distress is that negative, toxic form of stress that can take a really nasty turn if we don't catch it in time. We're talking about the anxiety from tight deadlines, those overflowing thoughts of worry that keep you up at night, or even just being in a loud, uncomfortable environment. If we let it run wild, it can totally derail our daily lives.
Moving on to Section 2, how our bodies react. The crucial point here is understanding what distress is biologically doing to us behind the scenes. Whether you're a student cramming for finals or a professional staring down a tight deadline, we need to pop the hood and see what our nervous system is actually up to.
Whenever you face a sudden, stressful situation, and this could be a real danger or just something like standing up to do some public speaking, a specific part of your autonomic nervous system kicks into high gear. It triggers the release of a hormone called epinephrine, and this instantly preps your body for action. I mean, instantly. Your energy skyrockets, your blood vessels constrict, your pupils dilate, and your reflexes become razor sharp. You are thrown straight into a fight, flight, or freeze survival response.
Now, fortunately, we aren't built to stay in that redline state forever. Once the danger is past, or, once that terrifying oral test is finally over, our parasympathetic nervous system steps up. It releases a chemical called acetylcholine, and this acts like your body's built-in reset button. It brings everything back to a normal, balanced baseline, which is called homeostasis.
But what happens if that reset button gets jammed? If we get stuck in a state of chronic, long-term distress, the consequences are honestly pretty severe. On a physical level, your body absorbs the hit through headaches, muscular tension, absolute fatigue, and upset stomachs. And psychologically, it shows up as deep anxiety, depression, a total loss of focus, and even sudden angry outbursts. It's a huge toll on your entire system.
All right, Section 3, techniques to manage stress. Look, we can't completely erase stress from modern life. That's just impossible. So we have to learn how to actively and intelligently manage it. By building in some specific habits, you can absolutely take back control. First things first, stop and ask yourself, is this anxiety I'm feeling real, or am I just creating an imaginary threat? Next, protect your physical health. Avoid smoking, drugs, alcohol, and make absolutely sure you're getting at least 7 hours of sleep. Try setting time-bound goals to kill off procrastination. And honestly, I love this next point from our source material. Purposefully exercise your eustress to fight off your distress. When you get a small win, celebrate it. Share the good news. Let that positive energy push back against the negative. Even something as simple as taking a walk in nature can drastically cut down your environmental stress.
Section 4, the power of independent work. Okay, so once we've got our stress levels managed, we have all this clear, focused energy that we can channel into becoming highly capable individuals. And that brings us to the incredible power of independent work.
Now, working independently doesn't just mean locking yourself in a room and working completely alone. It really means having the skills to get things done without constantly draining other people's time. It takes serious organizational skills, the ability to prioritize when you're multitasking, and the agility to pivot when things inevitably change. But most importantly, an independent worker knows their own limitations. They use self-discipline to cut out time-wasting activities, and they take full ownership of their mistakes. They treat failures not as the end of the world, but as a seriously great source of learning.
Which brings us to Section 5, Mastering Your Self-Awareness. The absolute bedrock of every single independent skill we just talked about is self-awareness. Knowing yourself is quite literally half the battle, and experts consider it a highly advanced form of intelligence.
To really master this, we have to look at it through two different lenses. First, there is internal self-awareness. This is when we look inward to map out our own core values, our beliefs, and the things that truly trigger our passions or our frustrations. But that's only half the picture. We also desperately need external self-awareness. This is the ability to accurately gauge how other people view us. When you understand how you're perceived, you can interact so much better, lead more effectively, and deliver work in a way that actually connects with the people around you.
So, how do we actually build up this self-awareness muscle? Our sources lay out 4 really practical steps. First, carve out some actual quiet time to reflect on the past few days. Second, practice being a genuinely good listener, meaning you listen without interrupting or just waiting for your turn to talk. Third, ask people you trust for honest feedback and take notes. And fourth, this is a total game changer. When you analyze a situation, think in terms of what instead of why. For example, instead of asking, why am I so bad at taking exams, ask, what was the specific situation that kept me from getting good marks? It completely shifts you from beating yourself up to objectively solving the problem.
And finally, Section 6, Motivation and Self-Regulation. This is the final, and honestly, maybe the most vital piece of the puzzle. This is where we bridge the gap between who we are right now and what we actually want to achieve.
Once you're armed with that self-awareness, your newly discovered strengths act as a trigger for your self-motivation. Think of self-motivation as that brilliant inner drive that takes an idea out of your head and makes it a reality. It's the literal spark that moves you from thought to action. But, as we all know too well, our weaknesses can pop up like giant roadblocks and totally kill that initial passion.
And that right there is exactly where self-regulation comes in. Self-regulation is the actual mechanism that commands your strengths to step up and overcome those weaknesses. Think about prepping for a huge final exam. Initially, the whole textbook just looks impossible. But when you deploy self-regulation, you start doing the hard stuff. You get up early, you map out a study schedule, you keep your cool when you're stressed, and you literally cut down your TV or social media time so you can focus. It is the engine that gets you through the really tough journey, from a great idea to a finished goal.
Our source materials sums this up with a truly beautiful quote. Your self-awareness, self-motivation, and self-regulation create a self-realization and self-acceptance. This makes you capable of working independently. It perfectly illustrates how all these pieces fit together. You start with self-awareness, you ignite it with self-motivation, and you keep the fire going through self-regulation. Together, they build this incredible sense of self-acceptance, creating the exact recipe for a resilient, highly capable person.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a question. You now understand exactly how your body reacts to stress, how to fight back against distress with e-stress, and how to harness your own internal management systems. The tools to master your mind are literally sitting right in the palms of your hands. So what's it going to be? Will you keep just reacting to the distress all around you, or are you going to use these techniques today to step up and become the proactive captain of your own life?